Hello, and welcome to As Built, the podcast from Graphic Machine about architecture firms, buildings, and how both get built. I'm your co-host, Patience Jones. With me is
Brian Jones.
Your other co-host. Thank you for joining us. Today's episode, we're calling Message in a Bubble. And if you get a police song stuck in your head, well, you're welcome. That was the point. And I know it's bubble, not bottle. But we did want to allude to that song because it also kind of, in a twisted, distorted way, in a tortured analogy, ties back to what we're trying to say with this episode. So, message in a bubble, message in a bottle, that will only send off earwigs if you know that song by the Police, which presupposes that you are either of a certain generation or you really like what is unfortunately now referred to as oldies or vintage music. But for everybody else, it's just words, right? Message in a bottle, message in a bubble. So the idea behind today's episode is when you're talking to your various audiences, is the language that you're using and the messaging that you're using reaching everybody it possibly could and should? Or are you sort of communicating in a little bubble that you're only saying things that will resonate with people that already are inside of your bubble? And a lot of this, it's not exactly inside jokes, but that's kind of the thought, is like terminology, messaging, points of importance, things that only people that are inside your bubble would care about, which then begs the question, if those are the only people you're talking to, why are you bothering to do this at all?
Fair enough.
And scene.
Yes. I mean, it's a really challenging thing because as you start to communicate with anyone, and this is in person or via social media or through your other marketing channels, you have, as anybody does, a tendency to use shortcuts to get to things. And those shortcuts can exclude people from understanding what it is that you're talking about, or it can help bring you closer to an understanding quickly. And, society where we value getting to things as fast as we humanly can, it's the reason why we like shortcuts and why we like having these quick ideas or notes that we can give people that everybody can get quickly on the same page.
And sometimes we don't even realize that we're doing it.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the real challenge here, is that when you're looking at your messaging and you're looking at the way that you're communicating with the outside world, is it constructed in a way where new people will want to discover more about you? Or does it send a message that they're like, oh, I don't understand that and I don't really want to know more?
Yeah. And I mean, I'm trying to think of like a good example that's not tied to any particular industry. So let's talk about dog toys. So let's say your company produces dog toys and you live, breathe, and work dog toys, which PS kind of sounds like an awesome job. You are so focused on dog toys and you introduce this new dog toy and it has orange felt on it. And there's something about all the research that you've done that shows that this orange felt has benefits for dogs. Fine. Within your bubble, mentally, physically, maybe orange felt becomes the thing that everybody's hyper focused on and everybody just refers to the orange felt as the orange felt. So you start talking on LinkedIn about orange felt. You got this new toy, it's got orange felt, everybody should love it, everybody should buy it. Well, everybody, quote unquote, everybody is not in that bubble. They don't understand why it matters that it's orange felt. They don't understand. It doesn't say anything about what it will do for them or their dogs. And you can't understand why everybody isn't so super psyched about this orange felt and jumping over the moon and your sales aren't skyrocketing and then you become frustrated. And LinkedIn is stupid. So how do we avoid that orange felt problem?
I mean, I think it's a first acknowledging that bubbles come in all shapes and sizes, meaning like sometimes a bubble incorporates an entire industry. Sometimes you're in a bubble of one. And that is where it usually falls down for a lot of marketing messaging in particular, is that you've picked out something that you're putting in your messaging that resonates with you. And so you assume, well, if it resonates with me, then I am obviously my target customer, then it must work. Well, that's leading me to the answer, which is like you have to test out your messaging to make sure that people come away with the same things that you expected them to. And so a little bit of, this can be an informal group that you find people that give you feedback on things on this type of item. You can test an ad to see the kind of response that you get, and did it generate the kind of interaction that you expected, or did it fall flat? But the underlying connective tissue there is testing, 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 testing. You have to be willing to acknowledge that something has to be different if the feedback comes back that way.
Yeah.
But, it will help you understand and avoid falling prey to this.
I think that's a really important point that it's hard to hear, but everybody does, because otherwise you're going to waste a lot of time and money. Be honest with yourself. And if it is true in your heart of hearts that no matter what the testing results come back with, or no matter what the data shows, you don't want to do it differently, you're not open to doing it differently, you are wed to this particular idea and you don't care what anybody else says, then just do it and don't waste time, don't waste money on, there's a 50% chance that your idea will be validated, but there's a 50% chance that it won't. And if you can't accept that 50% that it won't, and you're only doing testing because you are wanting that 100% chance that it will validate your brilliance, that's just a waste of time. Just
Yeah.
run the campaign.
Well, and the reason we're talking about this at all is that the point of outreach and the point of marketing in a lot of ways is to bring new people, bring awareness to people that don't already know about you. That's certainly one path that it can take. The other is that getting people who know something about you to want to find out more. Um, there's, I suppose, a third path, which is really like people that know a ton about you and just like to hear from you time to time. So that's certainly a thing. But if you're not attacking each of those separate audiences, with the frequency, you're probably going to find, the number of people that are reaching out to you for potential projects and opportunities will dwindle.
And it is true, this applies also to recruitment efforts. So, depending on where you are in your business, you might be also trying to hire people and they will pay attention. You're needing to sort of market to them as well. And if they feel that you take a more insular approach to what you do, that they can't understand it, they don't understand it, that when you're speaking to the public at large, like on LinkedIn, that you make no attempt to let anybody in on your thinking or your process or your product, that will probably factor into their decision about whether or not to apply or whether or not to come work for you.
Looking at this through a slightly different, more mercenary lens,
Oh boy.
yeah, it's if you think about the clients that you currently have and your satisfaction with those relationships, and you think that you draw a relationship to the expansive audience. If you have a very contracted audience that you're attractive to or you're trying to attract, you're probably going to end up with more of what you have in terms of clients. But if you're looking to change the kinds of clients you have interactions with or the kinds of work that you get to do, if you're not expanding that reach, then the chance that that's happened is very slim.
And that's kind of the other end of the spectrum, is that from time to time it is useful for firms to take um, a much more inside approach to their communications, because what they are trying to do is only attract a very, very, very small niche of people. And decisions are made purposely to repel people who don't fit into that niche, because the firm does not want to waste its time having conversations with people that it knows it doesn't want to do work for. And one very basic example of this might be like building materials that don't sell direct to consumer. There will be choices made about everything from how the website looks to the language on social media to, how their product descriptions are written, with the intention of turning away residential homeowners before they even get to wanting to contact them, because that's not what they sell and not what they do. So you can make the choice to have more of a bubble, but it needs to be a choice,
A purposeful bubble.
a purposeful bubble and an intentional bubble that is tied to a business goal, not just, but I always talk like this, or, but I don't, I don't know what anybody else thinks. I assume that they care about the same things I do.
Well, and on the purposeful bubble front, if you have chosen that purposeful bubble, but your messaging doesn't resonate because it exists in a separate bubble, then that's where the testing will help you figure out that those two are not aligned.
It's just bubbles on bubbles,
So
and
many
it's like
bubbles in
it's
this.
MC Escher sort of a situation, and then you're just like, you're having an existential crisis because you can't figure out what level of bubble you're at.
Mobius,
Terrible.
Mobius strip of bubbles.
It is. Oh, how dreadful. Yeah, you don't wanna end up there.
No, but it's where you know it's where preference can sometimes get in the way of progress. Where
Mhm.
you have a preference for something and you don't necessarily want to see what's in front of you and what will help you get to your outcome because you still have this preference, and that's fine. But it's like you may be getting in your own way on that front.
I think that's a really good point because it is about, your point about it's fine. It's not a throwaway point. Like, it is legitimately fine, but it is a choice. And on the spectrum of preference and progress, hopefully those things overlap each other, but sometimes they don't. And so you just have to make a choice about what you're willing to live with, what you're okay with.
So, what do you think the big takeaways are from this?
Ooh, probably the biggest takeaway is just testing. Testing your messaging, testing your channels, testing your hashtags, testing your web copy, all of it. Just test it, test it, test it. And only do that if you're willing to make changes based on
Review the feedback that you get from this.
Yes, exactly. Test yourself
Yeah.
first of all and ask yourself, am I willing to do this? Am I open to this? What are my parameters for change? And then look at the testing and make sure that you're not, without realizing it, that you're not just communicating in a bubble.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for letting us communicate with you today. Thanks as ever for joining us, and we will see you next time.